Princess Valkyrie stood on the grand balcony of her palace, overlooking the massive city of Silura Prime. The twin suns of her homeworld bathed the towering buildings in golden light, but the people below dared not lift their heads to admire it. They walked with their eyes down, fearful of the one who ruled them, Valkyrie, the warrior princess of the Xilarian Empire. She was tall, strong, and terrifying. Her armor gleamed, decorated with the skulls of enemies she had crushed in battle. She did not rule with kindness. She ruled with power. If someone defied her, she crushed them. If someone questioned her, they disappeared. Her people feared her, and fear was enough. Today, she had captured another enemy. A group of rebels had dared to fight back against the Empire. They had stolen weapons, sabotaged supply ships, and caused chaos on the outer colonies. But they had failed. The rebellion had been destroyed, and the survivors were brought before her. Among them was something unusual, a human. Humans were a weak species, smaller, fragile, and not nearly as strong as Xilarians. Yet this one stood tall, even in chains. His short brown hair was messy, and his face was covered in bruises, but his blue eyes burned with defiance. "What is your name, human?" Valkyrie demanded. The man lifted his chin. "Captain Daniel Carter." She stepped closer, towering over him. "You fought against my empire. You are a fool." Daniel smirked, as if her words meant nothing. "No, I just don't like bullies." The room went silent. No one spoke to the princess like that. The guards stiffened, expecting her to strike him down. Instead, she smiled, a cruel, dangerous smile. "You are brave," she said, "or perhaps just stupid." Daniel shrugged. "Maybe both." Valkyrie found herself intrigued. Most prisoners begged for mercy. Most cowered when she looked at them. But this human, he challenged her with his mere presence. He wasn't afraid. And that made her want to break him. "You belong to me now," she declared. "I could throw you into the gladiator pits. I could send you to the mines. But I have a better idea." She leaned down, her golden eyes locked onto his. "You will serve me personally, as my attendant." A murmur spread through the hall. A human, serving the princess. It was unheard of, but no one dared to question her. Daniel's jaw clenched, but he did not argue. He simply held her gaze and nodded once. Valkyrie smirked. "Good. Let's see how long you last." She turned, walking away with a victorious smile. Daniel didn't know it yet, but he was about to face the most dangerous battle of his life. Not with weapons, but with willpower. Because Princess Valkyrie was not just a ruler, she was a spoiled tyrant. And she had no idea that the human she had just captured was about to change her forever. The training arena was silent. The Xilarian guards, warriors who had seen countless battles, stood frozen in shock. No one had ever lasted this long against Princess Valkyrie, especially not a human. She gripped her war staff tightly, golden eyes locked onto Daniel Carter. The human stood before her, breathing steady, unshaken. He had not attacked her, but he had done something far worse. He had made her miss, again and again. Valkyrie took a slow breath, forcing down her frustration. "You are quick, human." Daniel smirked. "And you are predictable." A growl rumbled in her throat. The guards tensed, expecting her to strike him down for his insult. But she didn't. Instead, she took a step back and studied him carefully. This was new. Her people were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Their power came from brute strength, from dominance. But Daniel had shown her something different, a strength not of the body, but of the mind. She tilted her head. "Tell me, human, why did you not attack?" Daniel shrugged. "I didn't need to." Her eyes narrowed. "Explain." Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow and folded his arms. "You fight with force. You think strength is about hitting harder, but real strength, it's about control, about knowing when to strike and when to wait. You threw everything at me, and I didn't even need to hit you to win. Valkyrie felt her fists clench. She wanted to deny it, to tell him he was wrong. But deep inside, she knew he wasn't. For years, she had ruled with power. She had won every battle, crushed every enemy. But this human, this weak, fragile being, had defeated her without even throwing a punch. She stepped closer, her voice quieter now. And where did you learn this control? Daniel's smirk faded slightly. War. Valkyrie studied him. For the first time, she noticed the scars on his arms, the way his muscles were lean, built for endurance rather than brute force. He had seen battles. He had survived. You have fought before, she said. Daniel nodded. Yes, and I'd learned something. He met her gaze. The strongest people aren't the ones who crush others. They're the ones who stand when everything tries to break them. Silence filled the arena. Valkyrie should have laughed, should have mocked him. But she didn't. Instead, she turned away. Enough training for today, she declared. You will return to my chambers. The guards were confused. The princess had never ended a fight without a victory. But Valkyrie had something more important to think about now. For the first time in her life, she wondered, had she been wrong about strength all along? The sun was just beginning to rise over the empire. A new day had arrived, and with it, a new future for the people of Silura Prime. Princess Valkyrie stood on the balcony of the palace, her eyes scanning the city below. The streets were still, but there was a sense of hope in the air, a feeling that things were about to change for the better. The past weeks had been a whirlwind of decisions and actions. Valkyrie had made her move, removing the corrupt council and taking control of the empire. But now, with that power in her hands, she faced a new challenge: rebuilding. The people had rallied behind her, but she knew they would be watching closely. They needed to see that she wasn't just a ruler who demanded respect, but one who deserved it. Behind her, Daniel Carter stood, his presence calm but steady. He had been with her through it all, her advisor, her friend, the one person who had helped her see beyond the throne. And now he stood beside her as the dawn of a new era was beginning to shine. You've done it, Daniel said softly. Valkyrie turned to face him, her eyes sharp. We've done it. I couldn't have done it without you. He gave a small smile. You had the power all along, Princess. You just needed to see it for yourself. She nodded, feeling the weight of her newfound responsibility. It's not enough to just take control. I need to prove to them that I can lead with honor, not fear. Daniel's expression softened. You already are. Every day, you show them that you're not the person they thought you were. Valkyrie looked out over the city again, her mind racing with the possibilities. The people had already started to trust her, but now it was time to act. The true test was not just how she ruled, but what she did for her people. The empire needed change, and it had to start from the ground up. I'll start with the people, she said firmly. I'll give them what they need: food, resources, jobs. I'll rebuild the cities, improve the schools, and ensure that no one is left behind. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That's a big promise. Valkyrie smiled slightly, her gaze fierce. I've always been one for big promises. They were interrupted by a voice from behind. Princess Valkyrie. One of her trusted generals stepped forward, holding a report in his hands. The military is loyal. They're ready to follow your orders. Valkyrie glanced at Daniel, who gave a small nod of approval. Good. Let's ensure that loyalty stays. We'll need to prepare for anything that might come next. The old guard might not be the only ones who want to see us fall. The general nodded. Understood. As he left to carry out her orders, Valkyrie turned back to Daniel. This won't be easy. There are still many who resist change. I have to convince them that my way is better, that together we can make this empire stronger than ever. Daniel smiled. You already are convincing them, Valkyrie. Every day you show them a new way, a better way. She nodded, feeling the weight of his words. She wasn't just changing the empire. She was changing herself. The harsh ruler she had once been was fading, replaced by something new. A leader who inspired loyalty. A leader who could bring her people together. As the sun rose higher, Valkyrie stood taller. She was no longer just the daughter of a king. She was the ruler of Silura Prime, and she was ready to lead her people into a new era. The storm had passed. The dawn had arrived. And with it, a new beginning. Daniel Carter walked behind Princess Valkyrie, his hands still in chains. The grand halls of the Xelarian palace were massive, built from dark stone and decorated with golden banners. Alien warriors lined the walls, their glowing eyes watching him like a predator watches its prey. Yet he did not lower his head. Valkyrie led him through a set of massive doors into her private chambers. The room was luxurious, filled with golden furniture, alien artwork, and weapons mounted on the walls. The floor was covered with soft furs from creatures he had never seen before. She turned to face him, arms crossed. "From now on you will serve me. You will obey my every command." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Or what?" Valkyrie smirked. "Or you will suffer." She stepped closer, towering over him. "I know your kind. Humans are weak. You break easily. I will enjoy watching you learn your place." Daniel held her gaze, unshaken. "You think strength is about size, about power." He chuckled, shaking his head. "That's not real strength." Valkyrie narrowed her eyes. "Oh, and what is?" "Discipline," Daniel said simply. "Control. Strength isn't about hurting people to make them fear you. It's about standing firm when everything tries to break you." Valkyrie laughed, a sharp, mocking sound, spoken like a man who will soon be begging for mercy. She turned to her guards. "Remove his chains. Let's see if his words mean anything." The guards hesitated but did as commanded. The heavy metal cuffs unlocked, falling to the floor with a clang. Daniel rolled his shoulders, feeling the freedom in his arms again. He could have attacked. He could have run. But he did neither. Instead, he stood tall, calm, and unshaken. Valkyrie watched him carefully. "Good. Your first task. Clean my armor." A guard handed him a cloth and a bucket of oil. Valkyrie sat on a massive throne-like chair, watching him as if he were an amusing pet. Daniel sighed but took the cloth. He dipped it in the oil and began wiping her heavy armor. The room was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "You're spoiled, you know that." Valkyrie's golden eyes flashed. "Excuse me. You've never had to earn respect. You just take it by force." Daniel smirked. "Deep down, you know that's not real power. That's why you keep trying to prove yourself." Valkyrie's fists clenched, but she did not strike him. Something about his words unsettled her. She had expected fear, anger, resistance. But Daniel was different. He wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't even trying to escape. He was challenging her in a way no one ever had before. For the first time in her life, Valkyrie felt unsure. And that made her both furious and curious. Princess Valkyrie sat on her throne, her golden eyes fixed on Daniel as he cleaned her armor. The human worked steadily, his movements calm, almost lazy, as if he didn't care about the danger he was in. Valkyrie tapped her fingers against the armrest. "You are an unusual creature, human." Daniel didn't look up. "You're not the first person to tell me that." Her jaw tightened. He was mocking her. Again. Any other servant would be trembling by now, but he spoke to her as if she were just another person. Not a princess, not a warrior, just a woman. She leaned forward. "Do you think you are above me?" Daniel smirked. "No, I just don't think you're above me either." Valkyrie felt a flicker of something she didn't recognize. Annoyance. Amusement. She wasn't sure. What she did know was that this human refused to act like a proper servant. She stood abruptly, towering over him. "Enough. You will train with me." Daniel wiped his hands on the cloth and stood. "Train or fight? A slow smirk curled on Valkyrie's lips. Both. The training arena was a massive chamber with stone floors and high ceilings. Weapons lined the walls. Blades, spears, shock batons. Daniel wasn't given a weapon. Valkyrie tossed her heavy warstaff from hand to hand. Try to last 1 minute against me. Daniel cracked his neck. 1 minute. You'll be lucky if you touch me. The Xilarian guards around the arena laughed at his words. A human, challenging their princess. Impossible. Valkyrie grinned. We'll see. She lunged. She was fast. Faster than a human should be able to react to. The warstaff swung toward Daniel's ribs, aiming to knock him down in one strike. But he wasn't there. Valkyrie's weapon hit air. Daniel had sidestepped, moving with quick precision. Before she could recover, he stepped in and tapped her wrist, just enough to throw her off balance. The crowd went silent. Valkyrie narrowed her eyes. He was playing with her. She attacked again, faster, stronger. But he dodged. Every move she made, he was one step ahead. 30 seconds passed, then 40. Finally, Valkyrie stopped. She wasn't tired, but she was frustrated. No opponent had ever avoided her strike so easily. Daniel smirked. You're strong, no doubt about it. But strength without control, it's useless. Valkyrie clenched her fists. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever made her miss. She should have been angry. Instead, she felt something else. Curiosity. For the first time, she wondered if there was something humans understood about strength that she did not. And that thought terrified her. The palace was silent, but the air was thick with tension. The days of careful planning had led to this moment. Princess Valkyrie stood in her war room, her eyes scanning the map of the empire. The time for subtlety had passed. She had already won over many of the people, proving to them that she wasn't just a cruel ruler. She had taken measures to improve their lives, lowering taxes, providing food for the hungry, and showing mercy to those who had once feared her. But she knew it wasn't enough. She needed to strike at the heart of the royal council and show them who truly held the power. Daniel Carter stood next to her, arms crossed, his eyes watching her carefully. It's time, princess. Valkyrie's gaze hardened. Yes, tonight. We expose them. The plan had been set. The counselors would meet in the Grand Hall to discuss the future of the empire. They were unaware that the princess had already gathered her loyal supporters. They had no idea that their time was running out. She turned to Daniel. You stay back. This is my show now. Daniel nodded. I won't get in your way. Valkyrie's lips curled into a small, confident smile. For once, she wasn't acting out of anger. She was in control. This was her empire. The Grand Hall was filled with the council members, all discussing matters of trade, power, and control. They were unaware of the silent rebellion that had been building right under their noses. The guards who had always served them, loyal only to the princess now. As the doors opened, Valkyrie entered. She was calm, regal, dressed in her battle armor, her warstaff gleaming in her hands. The counselors looked up in surprise, their faces momentarily faltering. You all thought you could control me, Valkyrie said, her voice smooth and unwavering. You thought your betrayal was unseen, but I saw it. I know who you are, and I know what you tried to do. A few of the council members shifted in their seats, nervous. What is this, princess? One asked, his voice trembling. What do you want? Valkyrie took a step forward, her gaze cold. What do I want? She repeated. I want you to feel what it's like to lose control. I want you to feel the same fear you tried to make me feel. You wanted my throne, but you forgot. I never needed anyone's permission to rule. The room was tense, but there was no turning back now. Behind her, the doors to the hall slammed shut. The guards stationed outside had locked them in. Valkyrie's eyes flashed. I will not allow any more of you to make decisions for my people. You have betrayed me for the last time. One of the counselors, A man who had been her closest advisor stood. "Princess, please, we can." "No more words," Valkyrie interrupted. "You've lost the trust of the people. You've lost your power." With a swift motion, she raised her war staff and pointed it at the counselors. "You will be removed from your positions. You will have no more influence in this empire. And if you resist," she let the threat hang in the air. The council members looked around, realizing they had no way out. Some of them began to speak, pleading for mercy, but Valkyrie wasn't listening. She had already made up her mind. The time for mercy had passed. With a swift motion, she gestured to her loyal guards. They moved in, securing the counselors, ready to escort them from the hall. As the traitors were led away, Valkyrie turned to Daniel. He had watched everything unfold from the shadows, but now he stepped forward, his gaze meeting hers. "Well done," he said, his voice full of approval. Valkyrie's smile was small but genuine. "It's only just begun, Daniel. The real work starts now." With the council gone, Valkyrie had finally taken control. But she knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter for the Empire, and she would make sure that it was one written in her name. The days following the assassination attempt were tense. Princess Valkyrie and Daniel Carter worked in secret, planning their next move carefully. The Royal Council still believed they controlled the Empire, but they had no idea that Valkyrie was planning to turn the tables on them. Valkyrie had decided to play the part of the submissive ruler. She returned to her usual public persona, harsh, demanding, and unyielding. She met with her counselors, accepted their advice, and did nothing to show that she had changed. The council leaders, confident in their power, praised her for being strong and unwavering. They believed they had her under control. They didn't know that behind closed doors, Valkyrie was being strategic, calculating her every move. Daniel had become more than just her servant. He was now her advisor, helping her think through every decision. His words were sharp, his advice precise. He understood the ways of power, and Valkyrie was beginning to see it too. One afternoon, as Valkyrie stood before a large map of the Empire, Daniel pointed to a series of markings on the map. "The Council has their strongholds here, here, and here. They control the wealth and resources of the Empire, but they don't have the loyalty of the people." Valkyrie studied the map, her eyes narrowing. "The people don't care about me. They fear me." Daniel shook his head. "They don't fear you as much as you think. Fear doesn't last long. It breeds resentment. But loyalty, respect, that lasts. And if we can show them that you're the leader they need, the people will rally behind you." Valkyrie clenched her jaw. She wasn't used to thinking in terms of loyalty. In her mind, fear was always the strongest weapon. But now, she was learning that respect was more powerful. She looked up at Daniel. "How do you suggest we gain their loyalty?" Daniel's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief. "It's simple. Start by showing the people you're not the monster they think you are. Give them something to believe in." Valkyrie frowned. "You want me to show weakness?" "No, you want to show strength of character. Show them you can be both powerful and just. Then, when they're on your side, you use that loyalty to take down the council. They won't see it coming." Valkyrie stood silently for a moment, her mind racing. She had always believed that her strength was enough, that she didn't need the approval of her people. But now, she was starting to see that Daniel's way might just be the key to taking down the council without bloodshed. Her gaze hardened as she made up her mind. "We will do it your way, but it will be quick. And the moment they show weakness, we strike." Daniel nodded, a grin forming on his face. "Agreed. But remember, Princess, it's the calm before the storm that makes the storm so powerful." For the first time in a long while, Valkyrie felt a sense of excitement. She had been a tyrant. She had ruled with fear and force. But now she was going to prove that she could be something more, a leader who earned her people's loyalty. And when the time came, she would take down the council with all the power of her empire. Night had fallen over Xilera Prime, casting long shadows through the towering city. Inside her grand palace, Princess Valkyrie sat alone, deep in thought. The day's training replayed in her mind, the way Daniel had moved, the way he had controlled the fight without attacking. It was unsettling. For years, she had believed that strength came from power, from making others submit. But this human, this fragile creature, had faced her without fear, without violence, and still managed to make her question everything. She clenched her fists. Why did it bother her so much? A sharp knock at her chamber door pulled her from her thoughts. One of her royal guards entered, his expression tense. "Princess," he said, voice low. An assassin was spotted near the palace. Valkyrie's eyes narrowed. An assassin? Where? She demanded. Near the eastern wing. We are searching. A sudden explosion shook the palace, the walls trembling with force. The windows shattered, sending shards of glass flying. Valkyrie reacted instantly, grabbing the weapon beside her bed. Someone had dared to attack her in her own palace. Whoever it was, they would die screaming. She rushed through the halls, her guards following. But as she turned a corner, she saw something that made her stop in her tracks. Daniel. He was fighting. Two assassins in dark armor surrounded him, blades gleaming under the dim palace lights. But Daniel was faster. He ducked under a strike, grabbed the assassin's wrist, and twisted. A sharp crack filled the air as the attacker collapsed. The second one lunged at him. Valkyrie started forward to help, but she didn't need to. Daniel sidestepped the strike, grabbed the attacker's shoulder, and slammed him into the wall. The assassin crumpled, unconscious. Silence filled the hall. Valkyrie stared at him. He was breathing hard, his knuckles bruised, but his expression was calm, as if this was just another day for him. She stepped forward, her golden eyes sharp. How did you know there was danger? Daniel wiped a streak of blood from his cheek. You think I didn't notice the palace security acting strange? I saw this coming. Valkyrie crossed her arms. You fought well. Daniel smirked. You sound surprised. She wasn't surprised. She was impressed, and she hated that. One of her guards approached. The assassins carried insignias of the royal council, he reported. Valkyrie's expression darkened. The council. The very people who advised her, who claimed to serve her. They tried to kill me, she muttered. Daniel watched her carefully. Because they think you're changing. She turned to him, eyes blazing. Then let them come. For the first time, she wasn't just fighting for power. She was fighting for something more. And Daniel Carter had shown her the way. The air was thick with anticipation. The royal palace had changed in the past few days. The once imposing halls of power were now quieter, more solemn. Princess Valkyrie had made her move, and the royal council was no longer a threat. But with the fall of the old guard, a new chapter was about to begin for the empire. Valkyrie sat on her throne, her golden eyes fixed on the map of Silara Prime before her. The city outside had been swept clean of traitors, but that didn't mean peace had arrived. The people were still watching her every move, waiting to see if she was truly different from the rulers before her. She had taken their loyalty, but she knew it was fragile. Beside her, Daniel Carter stood, his arms folded, his eyes constantly scanning the room. Despite the fact that the council was gone, there were still those who wanted to see Valkyrie fall. They had never truly trusted her leadership. She was, after all, the daughter of the late king, a monarch who had ruled with fear and force. Things are quiet for now, Daniel said, his voice calm, but the silence won't last long. Valkyrie's gaze sharpened. What do you mean? Daniel glanced at her. Your enemies are regrouping. They'll try to find a way to take you down. Not just the old council members, but those who were loyal to them too. The business leaders, the military commanders. They all want power. Valkyrie clenched her fists. She knew Daniel was right. The council may have been removed, but their allies remained. They would not give up easily. I'm not afraid of them, she said, her voice steady. Daniel raised an eyebrow. It's not about fear. It's about strategy. You've got the people on your side, but now you need to make sure the rest of the empire knows you're in charge. Valkyrie studied him for a long moment. Daniel had taught her a lot, but this was something new. She had to act before the storm hit. "Tell me what to do," she said, her voice low but clear. Daniel stepped forward. "We'll need to show strength, but it can't be a show of force. You've done that already. This time, you need to show the people you're here for them. The old rulers only took. You need to give." Valkyrie frowned, but she didn't dismiss the idea. "You want me to act weak?" "No." Daniel's voice was firm. "I want you to act smart. Show the people you care about their future, that their voices matter. Help them see that they're part of this empire, not subjects to be ruled." She leaned back in her throne, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She had always ruled with power, with the sharp edge of a sword. But now, could she be something different? Could she be a leader who inspired loyalty and respect, not through fear, but through understanding? "I will make them see," Valkyrie said, determination filling her voice. "I will prove that I am not my father. I will not rule with fear." Daniel's expression softened, a small smile crossing his face. "That's the spirit, princess." But Valkyrie knew there was no time to waste. The empire was on the brink, and the storm was already brewing. She had one chance to change everything, to prove to her people that she was the leader they needed. Outside, the skies darkened. A storm was coming, but Valkyrie was ready to face it head-on. The real battle had just begun. The palace was on high alert. Guards patrolled the halls, weapons drawn, eyes scanning for threats. The failed assassination attempt had shaken the empire, but Princess Valkyrie was not afraid. She was angry. Inside her private chamber, she stood before Daniel Carter, arms crossed, her golden eyes burning with fury. "The Royal Council has betrayed me," she said. "They want me dead." Daniel leaned against the stone wall, arms folded. "Of course they do. You rule with fear, and now they fear you're changing." Valkyrie narrowed her eyes. "And what do you think I should do, human? Show them mercy?" Daniel's smirk was gone. "No, but you need to be smart about this. Charging in and crushing them won't fix anything." Her fists clenched. "Then what will?" Daniel pushed off the wall and stepped closer. "Make them fear something else." Valkyrie raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Daniel's voice was calm, steady. "Right now, they see you as predictable. You rule with strength, and they think they can remove you with strength. But what if you showed them something they don't understand?" She frowned. "Like what?" Daniel held her gaze. "Control." For a long moment, Valkyrie said nothing. Control. That word again. It was what made this human different. He had no power, no armor, no weapons, yet he had stood against her without breaking. And now he was telling her to do the same. She exhaled slowly. "What do you suggest?" A small smile played on Daniel's lips. "Let them believe they still have power. Let them think you are still their puppet. Then, when the time is right, you take everything from them." Valkyrie smirked. "A trap." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. Make them feel safe, then make them regret ever crossing you." For the first time in her life, Valkyrie felt something unusual. She wanted to listen. She had always led with force, but Daniel had proven that strength was more than just raw power. She studied him carefully. "And what do you gain from this, human?" Daniel chuckled. "The satisfaction of watching a bully get humbled." Valkyrie's smirk faded. Was that what she had been? A bully? She turned away, staring out of the massive window overlooking her city. The people below lived in fear of her. Had she been ruling the wrong way all along? She took a deep breath. "Fine. We do this your way. But if you betray me..." Daniel grinned. "I know. You'll kill me." Valkyrie chuckled, shaking her head. This human was truly fearless. For the first time, she wasn't sure who was really in control. And that excited her.